hit the go live button. Let me check real fast. Is it this one? Okay, YouTube says we're live, but yeah, yeah. Anywho, it is Monday. This is After Hours with WriterSanctuary, and tonight I have Margaret Pinard with me, and we're going to be talking about her books. And I have a few questions that piqued my interest when I was going through her bio. Um, and yeah. So, first thing I would like to bring up, though, is you do have your own YouTube channel. The link is in the description down below. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do on your channel? I watched a few videos, but I'd like it if you can explain it in your own words on it. So, you're welcome.
In my next new release. So I do both things on the channel. I review books as well as talk about author life stuff and research and travel, which you said you wanted to ask me about, as well as readathons and issues in the books that I read and like the social justice issues that I find the most um, compelling to read and write about. So yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. So like I said, the link to her channel is in the description down below if you want to give her some subscriber love. Okay, so your favorite genre is historical fiction. Um, can you go a bit into what that is and how you've incorporated it into your stories?
What is historical fiction?
Well, I've heard it
Um,
explained like so many different ways, so I'm like, well,
yeah,
let's see what
yeah.
everybody says about it. So
Right. And what was the second part of the question? How I
it's
incorporated it
yeah, if
into?
it's how you incorporate it into your stories, because I have another question about one of your newer books coming up, and I was kind of
All right. So historical fiction is defined by the Historical Novel Society as fiction set in a time that is at least 50 years before the current timeline. So for today, 2025, 1975, 1976, that's my mental math because that's the generation I grew up in. 1976 and earlier. Other people have other definitions like 40 years, and I just stick with the HNS definition because I think they're a great organization and pretty, central with authors. Um, so with that, I grew up reading stuff that was, way beyond, like a century before, 2 centuries before. And those are sort of stories that I feel like are close enough for me to investigate the details because there's written evidence left behind that I can use to
Mhm.
simulate those environments. So it's not so far away. Like I have a friend, Eloise Barr, who writes things in like 1200 BC in like Greek and Roman myth, and I'm like, I wouldn't know where to start with that. But Britain, 19th century, plenty of evidence. I feel pretty grounded for being able to research stories and get like a spark of an idea of something that happens, and then start to play with what would that mean for an ordinary person, and then go from there for the story. So that's how they develop. The second part of your question, historical fiction is basically when I find something buried in a nonfiction source and I go, ooh. That sort of is like, oh, well, what would this do for family drama? Or what would this do, to a community? And then sort of like try to find the ripples that would ripple out from that. I don't know what the
Yep,
verb I'm
yep.
looking for is. Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Kind of like what I do with like I love unsolved mysteries.
Oh boy.
The older the mystery, the better. And I love warping some of those. So can't prove me
Is
wrong.
it are you getting the sound in your head? Do do do
Yeah.
do do do. I grew up with that show,
Sometimes,
so
yeah. Well, it's like
yeah.
what turned me on to it was a while ago was the first when they started exploring the Voynich manuscript. And that really piqued my interest. The Voynich manuscript is a book that cannot be translated, and it was out in the 1500s, and nobody can translate it at all. And they
Okay.
think they came close to it, but they never have. And The book is full of plant life that you can't find anywhere on Earth, and so the whole mystery behind it got me like piqued. Like I love taking stuff like that and then changing it. Like it's still the Voynich manuscript, but it was in my version it was dropped off by an alien species on accident. The whole It's a whole different story, but the book itself was just like a side plot. So
Okay.
I love historical stuff like that. Like the older the mystery, the better for me.
Cool.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so I was recently at Read Between the Stars. It's a small book fair for fantasy and sci-fi authors. I see that you co-founded an indie book festival. Can you tell us a bit about that experience and um, that you had with the event? Like, was it? I don't know how to compare it because I've only been to one. Anyway, what was the book festival that you co-founded?
So it's called Yola Boca Flod, um, PDX, and um, Yola Boca Flod is an Icelandic term which translates to Yule Book Flood, and it was sort of a trend. I can't remember the first year we started exactly, but I think we did 2017, 18, 19,
Mhm.
or 18, 19, 20 maybe. Um, and basically, it's founded on the cultural festival in Iceland, where uh, the people get a catalog of all the books that are coming out in the year because imports into Iceland are a big thing. So it's a big deal when the books come in for each year, and they give each other a book for Christmas and go home and devour the book with a cup of hot chocolate. And I was like, this is the type of holiday that I want to culturally appropriate. so, um, so I got together with a friend and we had this idea to have an indie author book festival based on this idea for Christmas. So to like take advantage of
Oh.
people trying to get books for sales for Christmas. And also, we didn't really have an indie author book festival in Portland because the one before had gone out of business, and it was just sort of a hole that we wanted to fill. So we got a venue, we got a partner, we got authors signed up, and that worked for 2 years in the same place. And then the third was the pandemic,
Mm,
and we found somewhere to do it online, which is a YouTube channel, which is great because I just started my channel up 6 months before.
mm,
And then the next year we thought, so we did it 4 years actually. The next year we thought we'd do it both. And so we had like a little sort of hybrid uh, sneak peeks and teasers or whatever online. Um, but then had people in a venue again. And then after that, we were like, yeah, I think it was like a lot of trouble, and the venue part was the most difficult to manage. And so we just sort of were like, okay, we're on to different things. That was a good experiment, but it was really nice to have people come together in that way. It's
mm.
just a lot of work. Yeah.
So, do you have any ideas for doing more in the future, or is it one of those we did it, checked out the bucket list, let's move on?
Yeah, I personally I'm a big fan of experimenting and trial and error, right? But I
Mm.
think a lot of my experiments in my author business have been errors. They
Yeah,
haven't gone very far,
yeah, a lot of
right?
us could
And
say
so,
that.
yeah, but like, how long do you keep hitting your head against a wall, right? So,
Yeah,
in order to keep hitting my head against the wall of writing and publishing books, I have to sort of shift from like the different marketing efforts I do if they don't sort of take off, right?
yeah.
So, the indie book fair was one of those. I did a readathon on my YouTube channel. I was the host for March of the Moderns, so it was like 1900 to 1940 books that were written then, and like getting people talking about them and their themes and authors. And I did that for 3 years, and I was like, it's not really taking off. I don't. I mean, it's a small pool of books, and like I've
Mm.
kind of gotten what I'm gonna get out of it. So
Yes.
good, like I feel like my personality is I like new things, I like learning new things, discovering new things, sharing them with people. But if that doesn't develop into something else, like a partnership, a collaboration, a different venue, a different format, then I'm kind of like, okay, I've been there, done that. And I wanted to learn new things rather than
Mm,
keep doing the same. So yeah,
yep.
I don't think
Well,
I'm
that's
going
cool.
back.
Yeah.
We're not going back.
Well, that's a whole
Yeah.
different show.
Yeah.
I agree. Um, so your bio says that you've lived in the lands of the Celts, and this is what I was really curious about, in several European cities. Where exactly did you live, and how much of it has made an impact? How much of your traveling has made an impact on the books that you write?
Yeah.
Because
Well,
you've been
I think
places, I bet you've been places that I would love to go to.
yes, I made it vague so that it would sound like more than what it was, right? But I studied abroad in Paris, so I was there for a semester, and that was grand. I loved it. I did a TEFL certificate or a TESOL certificate, I mean, to teach English as a second or other language in Skull in the West
Oh,
Wilds of Ireland. So I was there for a month. And then when I did teach English, I lived in Istanbul in Turkey for a year.
oh,
So I think that's it. I think there was one more. So I've traveled other places, but those are the places where I've lived abroad. Most of the travel for the books that I've published is in the UK and especially to Scotland. And if I could live there, if I could burrow into a bog and hide myself in the moss, I would. Because it's like it's I live in the Pacific Northwest, which is like my consolation prize because it's very similar, like fog, moss, all that stuff. Um, but the history and just like the feeling of being there really called to me. So, um, yeah, that's where I've
oh.
traveled back. I think I first went as an adult in 2011, and I've made 5 trips there since then. So, like, whenever I have a little, well, I can't remember whose quote this is, but there's a funny quote that says, "I buy." Um, Shoot, what is it? Whenever I have a little bit of money, I buy books, and whatever is left over goes for food and clothes. Something like
Mm,
that. So whenever I have a little bit of money, it goes to Scotland
yeah.
travel. Yeah.
Inspiration. I would go just to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been out. I think Arkansas is the furthest east I've ever been.
Oh my gosh.
Yay.
Okay. Yeah,
But
yeah.
I did live in LA for 6 months, and I love Oregon. I've been to my aunt and uncle used to live in Oregon, in Portland, and loved it up there. So,
Well, when you travel, do you go to museums? If you're a historical fiction
um,
person, that's like one of my first destinations,
I
but maybe not
love
for.
I love museums anyway. Like I
Yeah.
loved the Museum of Natural History here in well, I'm still that's what I'm going to call it from now on. They changed the name of it, but it's always going to be the Museum of Natural History.
Right.
But I love that, and you can't really call Meow Wolf a museum, but it was really cool.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Um, my experience with Meow Wolf was pretty awesome. It's like it's very artistic. I can tell you that. Um, but let's see. I've always wanted to go to like Boston and some of the really historical places here in the States and actually go to like the Smithsonian and whatnot.
yeah.
But no, I have bills. So,
Yeah. No, it's great. So I lived in DC for 6 years, and I
mm.
definitely got to take advantage of the free museums. And
Oh
the
yeah.
fact that nowhere else does that is pretty amazing. So I definitely
Yeah.
appreciated that about life in DC.
Now you're rubbing it in. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
I have Google. It's not the same, but
Yeah. Yeah. And when people disparage Google as a research tool, I'm like, well, you got to start somewhere.
yeah,
You got
well,
to get a strand before you can pull it out and
right.
get the whole sweater.
Google is the sum of human knowledge, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. And it's yeah, well, again, and that's another podcast.
Yeah. That's a whole other show. I did do I was quite amazed with how much I was able to research on Google because my I Shadows of Atlantic City is based in 1874. And so I had to come up with the feel of Atlantic City in 1874, and that is it was difficult, but I was actually able to find a bunch of stuff at the Smithsonian from Google. So I'm like,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
yeah, so yeah.
It's
Never
very cool.
underestimate the power of a search engine,
Yeah. And
especially
Atlantic
one that
City has gone
controls the world. What?
right? Atlantic City has gone through some crazy rebirths and
Oh yeah,
resurrection. I
yeah.
bet that was pretty cool to discover.
When I was reading, the Atlantic City became a thing shortly before the events of my book, and so it's like
Mm.
I did the research, and you can actually see that how the boardwalk outside of Atlantic City was only 8 feet long, and the reason why they built it in the first place was to stop people from bringing sand into the hotels from the beach, and now
Uh-huh.
it's massive, and so it's and I did some research on the gambling of the of Atlantic City too, so that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Didn't need it for my book, but it was pretty cool to learn. So
Yeah. Mm. I've used the excuse of research for the book for many things, like
yeah,
books that are 100 years before. Well, it's background research.
yeah,
Like,
it's
however long influenced how people thought, right?
yeah, it's historical reference. I had to look up
Exactly.
clothing, and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
at that time, there was women were shifting from bustles to just a regular straight skirt, and that was a lot of there was a lot of stuff I didn't know about. So it was really cool to see how the clothing changed in the 1870s. So
Hmm.
that was interesting.
That's cool.
But um, I did some research on um, there was I kind of touched base on ancient Celt designs because of a part of my book, and I can't say anymore because it'll be a spoiler. So
Okay. Okay.
that ain't gonna happen.
Spoiler.
Anyway, but yeah, I see how it's for research.
Yeah. It's a good
I know I'm on a
alternative.
watch list somewhere though.
Okay.
Most authors are. Um,
Yes.
okay, so you see where were we? Oh, you have a new book coming out soon. Orla. Okay, I'm gonna mess this up. Orla Rafferty Seeks Her Fortune.
Yeah.
Ha. It comes out November 30th and is available for pre-order right now on Amazon. I think I have the link to your Amazon page in the description. If not, let me know. I'll grab it. Can you tell us a little bit about the storyline and the inspiration behind it? Because I read it, but you don't have a book cover for it yet. The
I
image
do.
does wasn't showing up. So,
Yeah. Oh, and it's not going to go through because I don't have a wrench on your channel.
oh nope.
Um,
If
so
Sam's here, if Sam can grab the link to it and throw it in chat, that'd be great. Oh, chat disconnected. YouTube's having a YouTube problem.
oh, okay. It looks like me. So, Orla Rafferty Seeks Her Fortune is a book about 1830s Glasgow and a very exciting decade. So, when I started researching for my next book, my seventh book, I was looking actually at progressive politics in the 1890s in Chicago. How did I get so off course? Well, I'll tell you. It's because I couldn't figure out the ending to that book, right? So I had to put it aside. And then when I started combing through stuff again, I was like, I want to do reform. I want to do some kind of when everything was churning and people were standing up for radical ideas, right? Because that's the feeling I want to capture because I think we're very far from that and we need to get it back.
Yeah.
And so that took me back to when Catholics were second class citizens and then they had their emancipation, which is what Britain called giving them equal rights. And that was 1829. And then we had the Reform Bill, which is when Parliament changed because the king changed. And then he said, oh, well, I'm going to have all my cronies in here and they're going to vote differently and they're going to change the franchise. So a lot more people got the vote. Still
Yeah.
only white male property holders, but changed the people in decision making authority. So that was a big deal. And we had abolition in 1833, the next year with that parliament. So those things like on religious lines, on political lines, class lines, and then on racial lines were changing in the entire British Empire, which was basically the world at that point.
Mhm.
And so I just figured, gosh, this is gonna gotta be like a really table turning kind of feeling for the people in that time period. So that's where I was trying to focus in on how I could best portray that. And so the idea is that it's people who have fled from Ireland from one of the rebellions. Their children have scattered because it's hard to make a life, so they're in different places.
Yeah.
And the trilogy is going to be different descendants finding each other and finding the causes that they want to fight for. And so we get to see a little bit about the different causes as it progresses.
Fun. So did you hop up across the pond to research that one too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, Specific trip was this February of this year,
Yeah.
actually. I was looking for specific local museums to look for like characters I could base some of the key secondary characters on. And so I found a doctor who was a philanthropist, and I found some politicians, and like where they came from was like, 100 miles away, but I just sort of transported them or used them as a model and
Hmm.
thought, okay, these are the types of people who would have influence or be meddling in these sorts of arguments. And I plopped them in. And I do have an author's note to tell people what's real and what's fictional at the end, because I think that's part of the fun of reading historical fiction, is that you're learning about what happened, but then if you get sort of taken in by thinking the fictional part was real, then you might
Hmm.
get mad. So I want people
Yeah.
to know these are the real parts, and the most of it is fiction. Yeah.
Throw in a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Well, cool. And that again, that comes out November 30th. It is available for pre-order right now, and I don't know, was the link on your blog to it? I don't remember seeing it. Oh wait, maybe there was one. I know that you haven't
um,
wrote a blog post since like 2021.
Yeah, no, I don't use that. I use Patreon. I'm trying to
Ah.
funnel people onto the Patreon. There's a following for free tier, so you can see all the stuff on that blog. So I've been blogging on Patreon instead,
Okay.
because no one visits the website blog. Same thing with the social media. That's what I was listening to hear. Your week ago podcast was about social media stuff, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I'm just giving up. And especially after the election, I'm just like,
Oh
no,
yeah,
I'm
Twitter's a
retracting.
yeah, Twitter's a
Yeah,
dumpster fire. Threads has been active for me. Threads and Instagram have been the two biggest one for me.
I'm going to Blue Sky. I'm not going to make it a big deal. I'm not going to try to gain a following, but like if I want to microblog and if I want to put stuff out there as my own record, it's going to be on Blue Sky instead of Twitter
Okay.
now. So,
Oh, look, Amazon got the link to your book. It's in the chat. So make sure you click that and give that a look over. Jennifer Decker says, I love your cover art. That's actually one
oh,
of the
thank
questions I
you.
was going to ask about. I guess we can do that one now. I've been asked offline by Jennifer to find out where you get your book covers. Do you have a specific list or a specific artist or service that you use for them, or because a lot of them are like really stunning. So
Thank you.
where do you get them?
Yeah. So, when I started, I was um clueless as anyone else, right? I don't know how to work with an artist, right? I remember cruising DeviantArt, the
No.
website back in the day. Like, do I approach one of these artists? Like, do I ask them? I knew a custom cover of thousands of dollars was out of my reach, but
Yeah.
what I was um, quickly through Google search learning is that a lot of people did pre-made covers, and so it was much more cost effective. It's more like $100, whatever. And so what I did was I started trawling through sites that had pre-made covers, and like if they had a vibe, if they had a smaller section that was historical fiction, which a few of them do, I
Mhm.
would go through those and be like, could this work? Could this work? Could it be, shifted a little bit? And that's what I've been doing. So since the first one, these have all been pre-made covers that I worked with the artist to just change things like the font choice, the size, the placement, and I think that's it. Really, I'm like,
Yep. Oh,
yeah, barcodes. I had to learn how to do like a little icon and barcodes, except for this one. So the rebrand when I got you know swirled up into the, oh, if you rebrand your paperbacks, if you give them a new cover, you'll get a new audience. And that I worked with someone who is an actual cover designer for traditional publishing,
mhm.
and paid her a lot more for the series, because the series was done, and to do a box set. And there's a lot of back and forth. but I didn't have the time to follow through on it. So ultimately, it was
A fail.
a waste.
Yeah.
And you just told me you don't like it as much as the
I,
original. Like,
yeah. See,
okay.
I like the nature scene, so
Yeah, me
it's
too.
and like
Yeah.
Jennifer brought up, the grasping root is her favorite art. I thought so too. That was one of the ones that stuck out most. I love the cover to that, and she
Yeah.
likes Love Memories Hostage too.
Thank
So,
you. Yeah.
so I was going to do a review. Like I came across a site where you can get pre-made covers, and things happened a long time ago. But one of the things I wanted to do was like see if I could just take a cover and then write a story based on the cover
Oh, yeah.
in 90
Especially if they're
days.
cheap. Yeah.
So, but I lost the site. I can't remember what site it
Oh, okay.
was.
Well, the one that I used for my most recent Orla Rafferty Seeks for Fortune is called Krafigs Design, Krafigs. And they were great to work with. Quick, knew what I wanted, gave me options, and like on time. The one I usually work with for like 3 or 4 books was called the Cover Collection, and they're based out of the UK, and they're wonderful. So they've got loads of pre-made stuff and lots of genres. And if you go through some of those and get ideas, then you could probably search other things and find more pre-made covers. But yeah, both of those great experiences with the companies, and like $100 rather than other stuff.
Yeah.
I know
uh,
authors who hoard covers, and
yeah.
it's not necessarily that they're planning to write a book to the cover, but like they love it so much and they're like, it's only $60. Like, I'll get it and it'll come into play at some
Hey,
point.
at that point it becomes an NFT. You paid $100 for the
Maybe,
image.
I don't know. Yeah, I
No,
know.
I would have to. I still want to do that though, but I still have.
Yeah, it
Um,
sounds like a fun challenge you could do publicly, actually.
yeah, well, that was one of the things we were going to do a couple of years ago, but I had kind of had a falling out with one person and a bunch of family issues after that. So
Oh, okay.
we might do
Yeah.
that again though. I'm still thinking about bringing it back for 2025, but I want to make. I have to finish my series, the Witcham series, which is dark fantasy, and then I started the Dark Western series, which is what Shadows of Atlantic City is, and I want to finish those first, which means 9 more books.
Yeah.
Probably not. I'll
That's
probably write
impressive.
something in between, but
Yeah. Can I
I've
ask you a question,
sure.
actually? So something came up when I was scanning through my subscriptions.
Mhm.
And I subscribe to several authors who do vlogs, day in the life of, writer. Um, and I was looking at some of these channels with a lot of subscribers, and they have things like juggling 3 books at a time or starting off my rough draft or whatever. And I'm like, the the effort that it would take me to be drafting and in the world, but also at the same time framing the shot, like thinking about the editing and designing the video. It feels like it's 2 jobs at once, and it would just make the writing not happen. So you have a channel, you have channel goals, and you have writing and like ambitious 9 book goals that you've planned out. So like, how do you arrange that in your either priority level? Like, how do you balance them, or how do you order them or think about it?
Very carefully.
Yeah.
I still have my primary income is from client work, so I have to make sure that the client work gets done first. And then I block off 2 hours a day specifically for writing the books. And then I normally try to block off at least another 2 hours a day specifically for the YouTube videos.
Mm.
And then
Wow.
another block of time for blogs. A
Wow.
partridge in a pear tree.
I'm like, you're running out of day here. Like,
Really quick.
yeah,
So
yeah. Okay. All right.
it'd be great if there was 26 hours in a day,
Yeah.
but it
Because
doesn't
I just
always
look at
happen.
that and
So
I'm like, it's not my skill set. So how am I supposed to succeed in this thing when I'm trying to do this other thing? It's just,
yeah,
I,
um,
yeah.
I I started writing for Text Broker. for content mills. And what a content mill is that they anonymously connect you with clients, and then you write their work for them as a ghostwriter. And I became exceptionally good at jumping from one thing to another. So I would cover topics. Yeah, I would cover topics, everything from um, animals to travel. And so in 20 minutes, I could crank out a 750-word article about dogs. And the next thing, I have a client that wants me to write from the perspective of a pregnant black woman. That was my favorite. That was my favorite job that I did.
Wow.
I didn't know what I was doing, so I just I winged it. And
Yeah.
apparently I did a great job because they paid me more than the article was worth. So like, whatever. So I was able to jump from one thing to another really fast. And so I kind of brought that along, as now I can jump from client work to blog to YouTube channel to the live stream. And then we do the podcast for Crossing Colorado on Tuesdays. Plan on going back to streaming on Sundays. And so um, it's a lot. It
Yeah.
doesn't always work, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just good at
Yeah.
bouncing around. Um, okay, so back up here. Okay, so I saw this and I was kind of curious about it. What is Taste Life Twice Publishing? Is this your own publishing company or
Yes.
what? I saw because I
um,
saw on a book on a website they had like a bunch of titles under it that weren't
yes,
yours.
it's
So
my self-publishing company. So Taste Life Twice is from the quotes over there, so I can't read it because it's like 12 feet away. It's an Anais Nin quote. So she was a writer in the modern period, the early 20th century,
mhm.
and she has a lot of great quotes. And one of them is, I write to taste life twice, once in the moment and once in retrospect. So I loved that idea of, especially a historical fiction writer,
Mm,
writing both to digest things for myself as well as look back on them and process them at a different time, because it's kind of what I do with historical periods and the now, and like sort of ground myself.
yeah.
So that's what I chose as my publishing name. I started out with it in 2013, and I had it as my website until I was like, this doesn't make sense marketing wise. So I switched it to margaretpinard.com and let that go. But it was still my Twitter handle, so like
Yeah.
there's like residuals of that. But yeah, that's still my publishing name, and you can still find me under that at various places.
Cool. Have you ever? Are you strictly self-published, or have you gone the trad route?
I have only had two, I don't remember, a couple at most articles published by other presses. Oh, this one. So this small press did a, I don't know if it'll be backwards.
Stygian Society.
Yes, a couple years ago now, or just last year. What is time? They came out with an author tube anthology called the Stygian Collection as their first um, I don't know what, I can't remember the word for it now, but like they introduced themselves as a small
Mm,
press to the world with this anthology, and so I got to be in that. And what's funny is it's actually like Stygian is dark themed, and it's sort of horror, sort of suspensey. And that's not really my brand, but I
mhm.
loved the press and the idea and the spirit and the people, so I'm in that. But no, everything that is like books with my name on it is all me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Have you ever tried querying before, or because I did a video last week about why I will never query an agent. So,
Oh, okay. Maybe I should watch that then. So when I started my writing journey in 2013, I had written a book over a year, decided to leave my job in DC and move back to the West Coast and try this. And I thought at that point, okay, I'm going through a lot of changes right now, including a breakup. I don't need more rejection. So I'm just going to go my own route and learn my own thing, right?
yeah.
And I think a couple times since then, I've been at a point where, like, it was a new book or something, and I thought maybe I should query. And I just never felt like it was worth it. The delay, the loss of control, the
Mm,
loss of income, theoretical income, of course,
Yeah.
for the validation and the added distribution. I have friends who are traditional published authors. I have friends who are hybrid authors. And they just seem to like slip into it. It just seems to magically work out. They know someone, or they
Yeah.
worked for years and finally got it in, and the magic happened. And I don't feel like my mental health would be able to take
Yeah.
that journey. So for better for worse, I'm on this side doing my darndest on my own rather than subjecting myself to the rejection.
Yeah.
So that's my choice. Yeah.
Well, one of my issues was I don't write for an audience of one. If an agent doesn't think they can sell your book, it won't see the light of day. So you have to make that one person happy. That's not who I'm writing for. So that was one of my
Interesting.
biggest ones. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
I have other things to
It's
do.
just it's one of those things. Often I've had to consider querying at the same time as job searching.
Mm,
And it feels like job search is a job in itself and
yeah,
querying would be a job in itself. And so it's just kind of like I have to choose, and that would suck all the energy out
yeah,
of like what else I'm doing, the freelance I'm doing, the publicity that I'm doing, the writing that I may get done.
yeah,
So yeah, that's why I haven't had it in me.
yeah. I don't think I would either. Like when you look at it statistically, agents can get anywhere. I think it was between 100 and 800 queries a day. And that's because everybody and their dog is out there writing books. So they're getting bombarded anyway. And so they have to pick the very, very cream of the crop. And so, um,
Or celebrities with platforms,
yeah,
because gotta eat.
yeah.
But
So
yeah.
I would never, like, I wouldn't be, if somebody came up and said, hey, I want to sell your book to Penguin Out or Penguin Random House, like, all right.
Biggest
If you
publisher on
think,
the planet. Hey!
if you can, or if they come in and say, hey, we want to turn your book into a series on Netflix, sign me up. But till
Right,
then, I'm
right.
not going to push the issue. So I got
Yeah.
things to write. So I've talked about drafted digital bit in the previous shows, but I was really curious to know if it's helped you with marketing in any way, because I know that some people swear by it, and then other people's like I had somebody on recently who hasn't sold a single thing from it. I haven't sold a single thing from it. Of course, I haven't
Oh,
really pushed it either. So my problem is a
yeah.
lack of marketing. I don't do very well on myself for myself. But have you seen any improvements using drafted digital or any other, like if you use Ingram Spark or anything like that?
Yeah. So the first time, I'm trying to think, it might be the Keening. Um, I can't remember anymore. I've had it's not up there anymore. It's in a notebook somewhere where like all my books are listed.
Mm,
It changes each time because I'm experimenting. So I think as soon as I could, I tried to get off of only being on Amazon because I got on there first.
mm,
That was like the one ticket, the one show in town. And then I think maybe the third book is when I was like, okay, let's try Ingram Spark because they're offering this now to get in
yeah,
on the indie author success wave, and they'll get us in the door too, as starter writers. And so I did Ingram Spark, and they have proved um, the least
effective.
effective, propagational, the least able to move copies. How about that? So, I don't do ebooks with Ingram Spark because why would you? But paperbacks, like there's like literally no sales, hardly any movement. I was with Ingram Spark a couple books, and then I think the last book is the first one that I did for Draft to Digital, which was a short story collection called Fabled Passages. And I was
Mm,
very excited because I've been on Smashwords for a while too, right?
yeah.
So I had Amazon, then I had Smashwords, then I had Ingram Spark,
Mhm.
and then finally I'm at Draft to Digital, which merged with Smashwords. So I just did an ebook because I was like, okay, first time, let's ease into the water
Mm,
gradually. And I was excited to not have to use Amazon. So I didn't even do a direct Kindle. I did it
wow.
from draft to digital to KDP. And it was fine. Like analytics are not great, but when are they? I don't think I can ever truly see where the traffic is going to. I use Bitly, I try to trace links, and it's still like I would need an accountant to track it basically. Too many froms, there's too many twos. Anyway, so I would say KDP has had the most reach, definitely. Ingram Spark has been miserable unless people specifically request from independent bookstores, which I try to push, but honestly, I can't see working. And Draft to Digital has been pretty good because their reach is through all the little retailers.
Mm.
Libraries definitely love Draft to Digital, and Barnes and Noble I wasn't at before, and they're using Ingram, but like it's easier for me to use Draft to Digital, which distributes to Ingram, which distributes to Barnes and Noble and
Yeah.
Indigo and Chapters and all what the whatevers. So I like it because of its reach, because it's an alternative, because I know Mark Leslie Lefebvre. Like I know the people that work there that are honest people,
Mm.
not billionaires, and I like it. But like, the frustrations this year in the formatting and the approval system have been legion. So I will say that. And it's not a totally smooth process. And why does it take 10 days to print a book?
Oh,
Honestly.
yeah. Like
10 business days.
yeah, well, that's funny because like when Kingmaker first came out, I always buy the first copy of my book. As soon as it goes live, I hit my link on Amazon and I buy it. I've got to
Yeah.
have the first copy. My friend Sam tried to race me one day with Kingmaker.
That's fun.
And even though my order processed first, she got her copy first 2 days later. Like, oh, so we don't know who got the first copy. But so when you buy a single book off Amazon, it takes up to 2 days for them to print it and ship it. But
And ship it.
I bought 10 author copies. It took 2.5 months the first time to get them. Yeah, I was pretty upset.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
That was with
Did
the
you
freelancer
again
style.
compare numbers? That's the thing. Did you look in the back of the book and compare numbers to see?
Oh no, I
Um,
compared. Yeah, I compared. It wasn't the numbers. I compared the printing places. They came from like
oh,
5 different printing plants.
your
So
10 copies?
yeah, it's crazy. There was one
What?
in Las Vegas and
Oh my
there was one in
God. No wonder.
Philadelphia. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
the hell you guys doing?
Yeah, that's frustrating.
But the last time around, I did when I did Read Between the Stars, I bought 60 copies. I bought 30 paperbacks and no, I took more than that. It was 20 and 10, so 40 paperbacks, 20 hardcovers. And the first run took 2 weeks. The second one, I think, took about 2 weeks. So they got faster than when I did the freelancer sale, but like 2.5 months, man. Oh,
Yeah.
if I had the money, I would build a printing plant here for indie authors specifically. Because, like, I looked at some of the printing places out there, and unless you're buying 1,000 books, you can't get cheaper than what Amazon gives you.
Have you heard of the espresso book machine?
No, what's
Okay,
that?
well, the EDM, it's a machine that's like a printing press, print on demand, and it's about the size of like a corporate printer, what would be the equivalent in a house? I can't think. I don't know, maybe a refrigerator turned on its side, right?
All right.
And they used to have one in Powell's here in Portland, and you could go in and it would take a day and they'd print your book or your book order, and it was lovely. You gave them your files and it was just like uploading to KDP. It was an alternative. I actually used it for my beta reader copies for my first book,
Oh,
and then for whatever reason it became cost ineffective and they took it out, and I was like, ugh,
yeah.
monopolies. Yeah,
Yep.
so aren't it? That's all you would need though. Just find an old one that still works. So like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we had alternatives too.
Hmm. Gives me some ideas for future stuff. Um.
Yeah.
Okay. So So there's the thing with I don't know if you've seen previous interviews, but I have to ask everybody about TikTok. I see you're on TikTok, and
Yes.
I was wondering, has it helped you with exposure to your books? I have like one video on mine, and I didn't even make it. I started my TikTok account back in March, and it didn't have anything on it until about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't. I've come
Yeah.
across quite a few authors that are like, nah. But one, let's see, who was it? It wasn't Megan. It was Sarah Burton. Sarah Burton does a lot of TikToks, and she was on the
Mm.
show back in June. You have quite a few videos, um, so I was wondering if that's helped you market yourself at all, or is it just something fun?
It's just something fun. So I have done a few experiments of um, intensive, consistent trials, and I didn't see any effect from it. No sales, no subscribers, no people saying, "Hey, I'm here from TikTok," which is the only way I would know.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah,
yeah.
it's just for fun now. I did a April, not this year, but the year before, a video a day for Camp Nano.
Mm,
So Camp NaNoWriMo in April. I was doing writing scenes, short story scenes, and I was also doing a video a day. It is fun, but like I can't sustain that, and that's what they need. And I'm like, no.
yeah,
But the thing is, the lesson I learned from it is that just like YouTube likes, video content for whatever
yeah.
hook and a certain amount of number of minutes and tags and whatever, the vertical phone recorded content is a whole nother tool. Like Instagram likes it,
Mm,
TikTok likes it, and YouTube uses it as shorts. So if you find your groove in that type of format, you can use it in all those places and just recycle and
yeah.
then see which one sticks. Problem is, I was doing YouTube shorts and TikTok reels, and I was seeing different videos do better in one and worse in the other, and then next video would be better and worse, and I'm like, you are yielding zero information because it is all contradictory. So I just put my hands up and was like, we're done.
Mm.
I don't know. I can't read it. I can't read the cloudy crystal ball. So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell you.
All right. So after hearing about all of your experiments and all that, I've got to ask. Please tell me you have a folder of spreadsheets.
What kind of spreadsheets?
I record data in spreadsheets all the time. So like at any given time, I can tell you exactly how many words I can write inside of a 2 hour period.
Mm.
So, but with all the experiments, I'm envisioning you sitting there with spreadsheets trying to track all the data.
No.
No? Oh, yeah. I would.
No, I just
I'm a dork.
I will track it while I'm doing it, and then I sort of come to a point of decision where I'm like, okay, we're done. And it's like Edna mode. Don't look back, darling. It distracts from the now. So I'm just like, okay, we're done with that. Like, why bother thinking about it?
No capes. Um, okay,
I,
so
I should have a list. What I should have is a list of all the experiments I've done because
oh yeah, they
when I
wouldn't
come
be
to talk about
yeah.
the history of, yeah, like I can't remember things that I did in 2013 or like, what the order of distributors I went through or, I'm cycling through formatters now, so there's that experience as well. That's what I should have a list of, but I never get around to making it.
So do you use so I did I did a big mistakes video last week, and number one was not having a map. As a fantasy author, having a map would have been so much easier. Do you like use maps at all when you're writing yours, or do you just Google Earth it?
Uh, Wait, in the book or
Either.
what do you mean use
Like for like okay, so in Kingmaker, there's a scene where I had to get somebody to travel 60 miles on horse inside of 3 days, and I didn't have a map available, so it was like trying to calculate distance of something that didn't exist. So having a map would have been so much
right?
easier. So like, if I would have even a hand drawn map would have made life easier. But like, do you use a lot of maps for
Yes.
distances or topography and stuff like that? And do you use Google Earth, or do you get something while you're doing your research? And
I use Google Maps. and I leave bookmarks. So I have like saved locations. I don't note things on them. I just say like research or whatever, and
Mm.
then I'm relying on my memory to go, oh yeah, that's where I had that, or this is where I put that. There's not so many, but yeah,
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that.
it's memorialized.
I would
What's that?
I would completely forget why I put that tag there. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm getting old.
Well, mine are real places, so they're
Oh
in the
yeah,
book. So if I
yeah,
ever forgot, I would be able to say, okay, Carrickfergus, why is that highlighted on the map? And then I could look it up in the book.
yeah.
Find, like
So
find command.
and then and s- I'm trying to think of how to word
Sure.
that. Well, it's like with Shadows of Atlantic City, where I took the information that was there and then tried to envision what it would look like 150 years ago. Do you do something similar to where you look at the map and and you envision what it would be like in 1833? Do you?
Oh, no, I don't get. Okay, so my friend Chrissy Stratos, another historical fiction slash horror writer, she does get that detailed, but I do not look for what actual building was there. I look for the feel of the neighborhood. So like the level of detail that I got to of the map was okay, west of Glasgow, you had the Clyde, you had the river, you had the docks, you had the trading warehouses, and I'm going to use those details, but then just refer to the neighborhood. Like, I'm not going to find an actual building that was there. That is not important to
No.
me. I'm looking at east of the city would be lesser um, socioeconomically advantaged individuals. And so that's where I place and I use a village name, but I'm not going to look up what small cottages were there that have been since demolished. Like that is not that doesn't make any sense to me. So I just make up some of the names of the streets and some of the buildings that I see based on prototypes.
No.
I'm trying to think because I actually had I'm trying to think which like paper pad notebook it's in because I did sketch out a map. So if you
No.
want to hold on for like 20 seconds, I'll give a look at the pile of research papers that are
Okay.
still over here. I think
Yeah,
I know where it
having a map would when I wrote Kingmaker would have been so much better. And
is.
Fury.
Yeah. Like because I wanted to be consistent and so the locations where I was least consistent got the treatment, right? So here's my terrible map of the
Oh,
UK
really?
and the location where I needed to be for the UK. Then the more detailed one is like Glasgow and the surrounds, and
Oh,
so I would
okay.
just write in so that I could remember where I had put things. And then did I ever do one for the interior of the cottage? I did not. So I had that
Right.
one pretty much in my head, so I didn't bother doing that one apparently. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, at least you're able to keep all that in your head. I have, like I said, my memory's not as good as it used to be. So,
Well, I mean, it's this year, right? So if you ask me in 5 years about this book, I may not remember, but the scene is so clear to me when I'm talking about a small Button Ben is what it's called. It's like a
mm,
two-room cottage, but this one has an attic, and there's stairs up, and you see once you like go above the floor, you can see the room, and it's very sparsely furnished, and I name what's there. So like that is very clear to me still. But again, in
fun.
5 years, just like asking me about memories hostage, like 10 years later, like I'll be struggling.
I wrote that.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Jennifer asks, have you done or considered doing any nonfiction around the areas you study and are interested in, like Celtic lore? I think we
uh,
didn't talk about that earlier.
no. Interesting question though. So,
Oh,
this sort of gets at like,
nonfiction. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
yeah, how I research, right? So some things I will do a deep dive in, but I definitely don't consider myself an expert. I'm looking very specifically at little pieces of reality that I can grasp and translate into a different fictional reality. So I don't feel like I can lecture on them.
Yeah.
I have given writer workshops in terms of setting and like how to research setting, but in terms of writing nonfiction about it, I don't know anything deep enough to be confident in like laying it out as a overview type thing. I can recommend the resources that I've read, but and yeah, like Celtic lore is not one of the things that I have researched actually. Definitely Irish and Scots history, but again, not at a level where I would be like relating
Yeah.
things. I just what I want to do is inspire people to read about the real events, right? So my my current book, Orla Rafferty Seeks Her Fortune, is the daughter of an immigrant who fled a rebellion, right? And the
Mm.
rebellion is the 1798 Wexford Rebellion in Ireland. And that one fascinates me, but I know very little about it. I've just got like sketches, and I want to gradually pull more of it out of the record as the family comes together. Um, but yeah, I want to know more history, but I wouldn't feel comfortable writing anything about it, except it's very small, like blog or newsletter blips or something like that.
Oh, cool. We're just about out of time. I have one more question for me. If anybody else wants to ask a question, you feel free. Okay, so what are some of your funky interests? Because I read on your, I read it on your blog that you had some funky interests. Like, what the hell does that mean?
What does that mean? Well, I've been involved in various things, right? So, uh, I have alternate alternative hobbies. So when I grew up, I did some normal things: played softball, played soccer, went to French camp. I mean, language camp. How nerdy is that? But I also did some alternative things. Like I learned Scottish Highland dancing when I was
Hey,
8 years old. Did that for a few years.
square dancing.
Yeah, that's not something you run into every day, right? With the kilts and the wool socks
Yeah.
and the gillies. So that was a trip. Um, like I said, language camp in high school, traveling. I've done some like various other things. One of the most recent sort of rare ones is animal flow classes, which is like a cross between yoga and breakdancing as exercise, and that was really good.
I can't
Yes,
envision
exactly.
that. Oh.
Yeah, so I don't know, funky hobbies. Right now, post pandemic, I feel like my hobbies have basically narrowed down into going on walks, trying to stay healthy, cooking for myself, going to the library, going to the post office and sending mail, and yeah, watching YouTube. So it's definitely like collapsed
Yeah,
in a little bit since
that's what.
we've all been stuck in our homes.
Yeah, it's a common thread. I think. I've seen a lot of people, like their whole life got turned upside down after 2020, and for me, I've always been an introvert, so it didn't really bother me at all. But
Yeah.
everybody's like had all these cool, fun things they used to do, and then COVID happened, and then just it's like almost
Yeah.
everybody. It's almost like everybody's having such a hard time getting back into what they used to do.
Right.
It's kind of
Right.
sad from my
I've
from my
always been
perspective.
an introvert as well.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's less a change of hobbies and more a diminishment of capacity in terms of social battery, I think, because we've
yeah,
been more accustomed. So now we don't have the. I just feel like there's a lot less confidence, a lot less like I can do
yeah.
that, sure, and going out to do something. I'm working on getting that back, especially post election when I want to be more visible, to be out there and fighting for things, because I was just telling a friend at a bookstore the other day, um, I don't leave my house for much. I go to the library, I go to the post office, I go on walks.
Yeah,
So I
that's
feel like, oh wow, I should probably change that. And like, you
yeah.
know? So yeah.
That was one of my goals this year was to get out of the house more, and that's why I went to the Read Between the Stars. But for the most
Nice.
part, yeah, I go shopping. And I go walk in my backyard. That's about it. So,
Yeah. Well, that's good. Backyard is good.
hey, I was social distancing before it was cool.
Right, right, right.
KDC says, honestly, language camp sounds awesome, but I'm a little nerdy anyways. Yes, he is. He has this picture that he shared with us of him dressed up at the Renaissance Festival. Looked amazing, by the way.
Yes, yes to
So
Renaissance festivals. That's also something I haven't done in the past 2 years, but I love it. Yeah,
I used to work
for
it.
sure. I got costumes just chilling in the closet,
Yep.
ready to go.
I have a $1,200 outfit sitting in mine.
Yeah, it
Rapier
gets
and
it adds
everything.
up.
So.
It does. Nice. Which era or which like look are you going for? Because you don't need to
Oh, I don't
be.
know. We were just kind of throwing things together. Um,
Yeah.
I was going for kind of like a swashbuckler look.
Okay.
Because I love ships, and so I had deck shoes, real leather deck shoes, and the rapier and my hat. My hat is like shrunk so because it was real leather and I didn't take care of it, and this was like 30 years ago, so it's like really tight.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I used to work the climbing wall, and that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Oh, I this is how big of a dork I was. So back then I used to smoke cigarettes, and and so I would be head to toe legit. The way I would light my cigarettes is with a magnifying glass. And so
Oh my.
I was taking a break and I was using a magnifying glass to light my cigarette. And there's like people walking by thinking, oh, that is so cool. Like,
Oh
no, it's just a
my
magnifying
God.
glass.
Enabling you. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I
That's
was,
funny.
and I carried gold dollars in a belt pouch on my next to my rapier. So I had the you get them from the car wash. It's the gold dollars that use the car wash and so we'd go and
Like
get
a
like
$1
what was that?
Like
Kinda. Yeah,
okay.
they were dollar bills, but they were gold. I'm not they weren't solid gold or anything like that. But
Oh, I don't know about these. Okay. Cool.
I don't know if I have any left. But yeah, they're gold dollars. We used to get them at the car wash because you'd put in a $20 and then because
Okay.
it'd take
Yeah.
coins.
Tokens.
And so I'd take the gold coins and go to the Renaissance Festival. When they tell me that it was something like 5 gold for that, and like pulled out 5 gold.
That's
So
awesome. That's
dork.
cool.
I
Oh,
liked it.
archery.
So
There's
archery.
something you do at a Renaissance fair. I got into archery for a bit growing up.
Hey,
Um, dance walking. That's not something you hear every day. And karaoke. Definitely a karaoke fan. So
okay,
yeah.
sweet.
Funky
Okay.
funky.
KBC says yoga and breakdancing sounds nice too. That yeah, I don't know, like on your head and just kind of downward dog. I don't know.
No, like crab walks and like bear crawls and like twisting and a lot of wrist stuff because
Uh,
you're on your hands. And for someone who's like working on a keyboard, wrist stuff is like hard. So that was like a good evening out of the use. Yeah.
well, it sounds like it would be something that would break me. So,
It was I don't think it's that bad. It's not
Rutch,
yeah. It's
how'd you break your leg? Doing yoga. Jennifer says I'd go to camp.
yeah.
Oh, because we're talking about the camps. I never
Hmm.
got to go to any kind of camps. I went to well, word camp and WordPress, but that's not exactly the same thing. So
What kind camp?
WordCamp. It's WordPress events that are around the country. I would go to those, represent Green Geeks, and we'd talk about WordPress because I'm a WordPress expert. And so WordCamp
That was
is,
more like a brand ambassador thing.
um, no, it's just, I don't know. I was just there representing Green Geeks and talking to people about WordPress and getting people to sign up.
Yeah.
And but the
Yeah.
WordCamp is a convention of WordPress users to discuss everything. Like a
Sure.
WordCamp can have everything from how to use WordPress as a freelance writer all the way to well, lately everybody's been pushing the AI agenda, but
Well, it sounds like a conference rather than a
yes,
camp, like
yeah,
where you sleep away and there are cabins and
yeah.
outdoor activities.
Well,
Yeah.
it's most WordCamps are 3 days long, and what you do is you'd get a hotel there and attend it, And so it is more of a conference than anything, but they call it Word
Yeah.
Camp.
Okay. Okay.
Probably
That's
not
like
what Jennifer
corporate
was talking about.
talk at a campus. It's not a
Yeah,
campus.
no.
You're just in one of the universities. Like, no, cut the shit.
Pretty much. This
Oh,
isn't a camp. There's no barbecue.
right, right. The camp, well, there wasn't any barbecue in the camp that I went to either, but there were plenty of mosquitoes and there
Hey,
was a lake and, outdoor fire campfires and stuff. So that was nice.
and the hockey mask guy in the water.
What's that?
Oh, a guy wearing a hockey mask in the water.
Oh, I don't know. Is that a trope?
Friday the 13th. So that's a
Yeah, I
horror
haven't seen.
reference. That's right. There's only two people in this. I don't even know if there are two people here that would get that. Chris didn't show up today. Alrighty. Well, it is 8:05. Does anybody have any questions before we say goodnight? Thank you very much for being on the show. It was nice to actually chat with you. Yeah, I've seen you
Yeah,
on the stream a few times. So
yeah.
don't forget that you can also visit Margaret's YouTube channel. The link is in the description down below. And she talks about books. And I watched one recently. You were doing reviews, and you had like a book haul. I didn't have time to watch the whole thing, but you were talking about what was it? Everything's such a jumbled mess today.
I don't normally do book hauls. I've probably done like 2 a year
What?
since I've been
Well,
on book.
now I got it. That's gonna bug me. I gotta look it up. It's the most recent video I watched.
Huh. If it's the most recent video I did, there were 9 book reviews, but it wasn't a haul.
Maybe that might have been what it was.
Yeah, probably. Unless the algorithm was serving you up like a way old thing, which I don't know why it would. It
Oh
doesn't
no,
help me in any up.
I went directly to your channel. I was looking stuff up. I was
So
stalking
which
you.
grabbed your attention? That's interesting. It'll be on the thumbnail if you wanna
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's not showing because there should
live.
be a red line of where I was watching.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't show up. I see that too.
Huh. Yeah, now I can't remember which one it was. Got quite a few on there though. That is really gonna bug me now. Anyway, she does quite a few reviews. I
Yes.
can't find the one I was watching. It wasn't popular, was it? It was one of the popular videos.
I mean, popular. I don't have any
Oh, there
popular
it is.
video.
Your Wednesday wrap up. It was from 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
That's when I was watching. I see the red line now. But you also got oh yeah, you got your 8 book reviews. That was 5 days ago.
Yeah, that was
Right.
the most recent.
Right.
If you read the one before, I think that was 6 book reviews.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she has a lot of book reviews.
I read a lot of books.
And you're live quite a bit, aren't you?
Like twice a week. I cut back last month, so we went from 3 to 2 on average.
Right. Well, cool.
Yeah.
When do you normally go live? I don't get a notification.
Sundays at 10 Pacific and Wednesdays at 11. Every other Wednesday now.
Huh. At 11 p.m.?
AM.
Oh, okay. That's why I don't get it. Okay. I'm usually working at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't get any notifications of you going live.
I never encourage people to hit the bell because I don't do it for anyone else. I just look at my subscriptions feed and try to keep caught up as much as I can. Yeah.
All right. Oops. Okay, so let's see. French camp. Bring your mosquito repellent. That was from you. Cat Paw says fun chat. I missed. Cat Paw says fun chat. I missed the beginning, but I know what to do.
There you go. Catch it on replay.
Katie C says I miss all horror references. My high school English teacher exposed me to horror movies and Barbie girl commercials. I watch neither now.
Okay. Interesting.
That's kind of that's a combination.
Yeah.
That's a choice.
Interesting.
So why Barbie girl in horror movies?
Yeah, I don't even get the reference Barbie girl commercials. I don't know what Barbie girl is
Maybe Barbie
capitalized.
commercials?
Maybe
I'm a Barbie
Barbie girl.
girl. That's a song.
Aqua? Is it Aqua commercials? That's a niche.
Good
That's a
job.
niche. Oh my gosh, that's
I'm
funny.
a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
Yeah. Oh
Wrapped in
man.
plastic. It's fantastic. Okay, anyway.
Anyway,
Alrighty, we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you very much for hanging out with us tonight, Margaret. Don't forget that you can get your YouTube channel in the link in the description down below. I also have links to her, I believe. Your draft to digital link is on there. I can look real
books to
quick.
read.
Um, your YouTube channel, find your blog, and yes, I do have your books to read link in the
Okay.
description down below. That's the link to all the different platforms that you're on. So like Barnes and Noble, Rakuten, Smashwords, right? There's a bunch.
Yeah.
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 This sounds good.
Me. Rakuten. I say Rakuten.
Uh,
I was like Rasputin? Oh
Boy.
no.
Kobo. Is that
Yeah,
better?
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Kobo's good. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Excellent. Thank
Well, thank you very much. And we'll have to have you back on. Your
you
book
everybody.
comes out November 30th. Check that out. And Sam put the link in the chat below. And so,
St. Andrew's Day.
and what?
November 30th is St. Andrew's Day. It's a
Oh,
Scottish holiday. So I thought that was
oh,
particular.
good job.
Yeah.
I like it. That's good. That's awesome. Well, thank you very much. And we'll have to have you back on.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Michael.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Bye.
Hold on. What happened to my video? There you are. Okay.
Powering off.
That was a lot of fun. Got to learn a lot of fun stuff. Imagine hearing it every day on the radio more than once. Card time. Yes, it is card time. But thank you very much, Margaret. That was awesome. Sexy bot voice. On what? Oh, I forgot that you guys can hear my headset. Yeah, that's the voice for the Corsair. Because I don't buy anything. I don't use cheap shit. I love my Corsair headset. But yep. Really kind of want to buy her newest book that's coming out. So let's see. Last week's was I Have So Much to Offer the World. We're almost out of cards. We have to open up the other one. Powering off. Hey. It's Corsair. They have the money. Did her voice get sexier? I don't think so. I don't know. I don't fantasize about my headset. Anyway, so the reason why it's dark on this side is because I lost a light over here. It's broke, so I have to get it replaced. The actual light, not just a switch or a bulb. It's a panel. So that's why it's going to be a little weird for a while, I guess. It totally did. Yeah, it didn't get sexier. I'm gonna start fantasizing about my headset. I can change it colors. Okay, here we go. Cat Paul wants to know about your microphone. My microphone, I use this is an Elgato Wave 3. It was $150 microphone a couple of years ago, but I think you can get them cheaper now. But the Elgato is what a lot of streamers and YouTubers use because they can do everything. I haven't really adjusted the settings on it as much as I could have. I still think it sounds great. I use the Wavelink software with it, and Wavelink will actually cut out loud noises so you're not blowing out your listeners' eardrums. If something happens, like if you cough or whatever, the Wavelink will kick it off immediately. And I do have it set to where it removes background sound. Unfortunately, some people upstairs are a little bit louder than the microphone can handle because they're loud. It does sound great. Well, thank you. Yes, and yours sounded great too. So you came through nice and clear. Thanks. It's got a nice sound to it. Yeah, I love my Elgato. It's the Elgato Wave 3, and it's got all kinds of cool things. Top touch for mute. I can change. You can also plug in. It's got a 3.5-inch jack or a 3.5 millimeter jack for headsets, so you can plug it directly into the Elgato. I can change the input. It's got like several different settings. Like if I go to mic, I can turn it up a little bit, which I don't know if I need to turn it up. It's pretty loud as it is, but yeah. And then I have it hooked up to a $30 arm that I bought off Micro Center. Back in the day, I used to have it plugged in, or I used to have my microphone plugged into a PVC pipe. Back when I was poor. I couldn't say cheap. I was poor. Had a black PVC pipe that came out the side, and I had a blue snowball, like tucked in the end of it. It worked. This is way better. Blue's another good microphone if you're looking for a mic. So Blue's good, but I still think the Elgato's way better. Okay, this card for this week, our affirmation is everything I am looking for, I can find within me. Everything I am looking for, I can find within me. I'm always happy. If somebody wants to hang out and share some of this happiness, that's great. But no matter what, I'm always going to be happy. I love my job. I love what I do. It's stressful. I get frustrated. But hey, it is what it is. I'm still happy. All things considered, life is good. Frustrating, but good. Anywho, we're going to wrap this up. It is 8:17. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you very much, Margaret, for hanging out with me. It was great. It was nice meeting you in person, kind of. Live. It wasn't really in person, but it was nice actually chatting in real life. I'm really thinking I might groove in your book when it's coming up. So I like that kind of stuff though. But yeah. Alrighty. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can always hit me up on social media on Threads and Instagram. I'm trying to get more active on Instagram. Twitter, I'm not exactly all that active on Twitter. I'll respond if people send a message to me on Twitter, but I just don't use it anymore. Every time I've gone on Twitter, it's just been a dumpster fire. So I'm like, I'll keep up with because I have like 500 and some odd followers there that of people that are interactive, and so I'll still interact with you. I'll still chat with you, but I'm not going to hang out on Twitter. Sorry. Threads, Instagram, definitely YouTube. You can leave a comment on any one of my videos. I get those immediately and try to reply as quickly as possible. And you can always reach out on the contact form on WriterSanctuary.com's website. And if you have a book published and would like to be on the show, there's also an author registration form that you can use to sign up. And I'm going to have quite a few authors because next week I got M.J. James going to be on to talk about their book. And then after that, I have another author. I can't remember her name because she just signed up. And I'm tired. It's been a long day. To help Jennifer fantasize better, I think you should hold the headphones closer to the microphone and power it off. No, that's how you cause feedback. Anywho, bunch of weirdos. Don't forget that A Freelancer's Tale and Kingmaker are both available on Amazon in paperback and ebook format. Kingmaker is also available in hardcover. Oh, no, I don't have a hardcover that's paperback. I was going to show you. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Now comes the fun part of trying to figure out where everything is at. because it's scattered all over my desktop. Okay. Yeah. I think I got it. I'll see you guys later. Don't forget, Sam and I will be on Crossing Colorado tomorrow at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Giggly wants to know what microphone. Oh, see, I didn't see that. I'm so sorry, Kappa. I try to remember. PTS flashbacks whenever I hear this. I don't know. All right. Now I'm leaving.